Here, the Emmanuel people, for the second group, you're here at the church at 1:30. You'll leave the airport at 7 o'clock in the evening in Indy. But by the time we get there and get through, security and so forth, we'll need that much time. So those of you going from Emmanuel, those of you who are the pastor's group, you meet in Atlanta. You'll leave from wherever you're leaving from, and we all meet in Atlanta. As you know, you fly all night. I'm just going to tell you what I do with the flight. And you may want to do it totally different, but when we get on the flight overseas, it's a nonstop trip all the way into Tel Aviv. What I like to do is once they level us off at cruising altitude, they bring a meal around to you. It's a very nice meal normally. Have a meal. I go to the bathroom. I take a Ambien, and I take my neck pillow, and I have sweet dreams. So. Honestly, it's the best way to spend the night. If you're able to sleep on a plane, and I can't sleep on anything that moves unless I take an Ambien, and I take the Ambien CR, and it really helps me. But I don't know that all of you are able to take those, so just giving you an option. Yeah. Sleep all night if you can. You'll arrive in Tel Aviv. Now, remember, you're losing 7 hours. It's an 11-hour flight, basically. You're losing 7 hours. In other words, when you land at 5:25 in Tel Aviv, on your watch, it'll say 10:25 Eastern time. Okay, so you've just lost 7 hours, and it'll be evening, and you won't be hungry, and you'll be tired and cranky. Okay, we'll pick you up at the airport. We're going to drive this far. The reason we go up to Netanya for the first night is because if we wait till the next morning, we fight Tel Aviv traffic, and we just waste too much time. So even though we're a little tired, we'll land and we'll get on the bus that night and we'll drive, not even an hour, probably 45 minutes or so up to Netanya, and we'll spend our first night. I want to take you down to the dining room, and even though you may not be hungry, we're going to have a meal together. At least we're going to sit together, and I'm going to tell jokes or dance or whatever I need to do to keep you awake. Because if you go to bed at 6 o'clock in the evening or 7 o'clock in the evening, it's just going to throw you off. So if we can stay up till 9 or after that first night, it's a win, okay? It really is important because the next morning we start and we go hard. So if you can stay up as long as possible that first night and then get a good 8 hours sleep, you'll be great. So that's the plan for the first night. We land and we go up and spend the night there in Netanya. The next morning we get up and we'll see the Caesarea. We'll do Mount Carmel. We'll go over to Megiddo, depending on our time. That's iffy. Then on up to Nazareth. We'll spend nearly a half day in Nazareth because there's so many things to see. And we'll spend, actually, you'll have some fun in Nazareth because we'll take you to that village I told you about. And it's a village that shows you how they make the grapes. How they crush the grapes, how they crush the olives, how they make the olive oil. You'll get to see the shepherds and the sheep and all of that. And then the event kind of closes. They give you a piece of dough, and you make your own pita bread and do it on a rock. So you get to kind of experience kind of the whole thing from the time of Christ. So we'll spend nearly a half day here in Nazareth. We'll then take off and drive by Cana of Galilee, where Jesus turned water to wine, and we'll just point that out to you. Won't even stop the bus. We'll just point that out to you and go over here and spend the next couple of nights, depending on pastors, 2 nights, other group 3 nights, we'll spend here in Tiberias. Tiberias is a modern city built just after the time of Christ. Modern in the sense of compared to the other cities from the time of Christ. So we'll stay right here, right on the water. It's a beautiful location. That first day, you'll see these kind of things. This is where Paul was kept in Caesarea. This is where you remember the story of Acts 10 and Cornelius and Simon Peter. This is where that happened and so forth. So you'll see those things. This is the synagogue where Jesus went back to Nazareth and opened the text and says, "Today this has been fulfilled in your hearing." Of course, the walls and ceiling are new, but the floor, almost every scholar will tell you, is the actual floor from the time of Christ. So it's one of those things you go, whoa, I get to stand on that spot. And so we'll spend time here in Nazareth. The next morning, for both groups, we'll spend the time all around the sea. You'll see the sea from every possible location. You'll start with a ride, and again, depending on how things work out, you'll start probably in the morning, first thing with a ride on the Sea of Galilee. We'll ride on a boat. We'll sing and so forth together on the boat. It's a lot of fun to take a trip. Then we'll go over here to the northwest side of the sea and see the Jesus boat that was found some years ago in the mud, lodged in the mud, and then restored. So you'll see that. We'll go to Capernaum where Jesus pastored. That was his church along with Chorazin. Down here is where the pigs ended up with the demons. First deviled ham, we are told in history, right there. So you'll spend the whole day around the Sea of Galilee. From every location, we'll see where Jesus fed the 5,000. We'll go to the Mount of Beatitudes. We'll cover a lot of stuff that day. Now, pastors, this is the wild day for you because we're going to do all that in the morning. And then right after lunch, we're headed north, and you'll get to see Caesarea Philippi, the Dan. We'll actually step into Syria and Lebanon, right at the line there, so you can kind of see where the lines are and so forth. So this day for pastors, this is going to be a really long but very worthwhile day. So it'll probably be dark when we get home on that particular day. For the other group, we do this day one, and the next day we do the other things. This is Capernaum. That's the boat we ride on the Sea of Galilee, like the one we do. This is where Jesus fed the 5,000. This is called Tabka. This is the location supposedly where it took place, a baptismal site. For the pastors group the next morning, and for the group from Emmanuel the second morning, we'll leave the hotel at 4:30 a.m.